Right. So I'm going to be summarizing the What is Space documentary. So it basically says how space isn't actually nothing, it's actually something. And it all started with Newton, where he basically said that, like, he views space as being just like an empty stage that everything plays out on. And that was the common belief for a while, how it's just like a static, unchanging stage that things took place on. But then eventually along came Einstein, and he discovered that space is actually not static. It's very, like, kind of amorphous. And first, like, just started to find signs of that with the speed of light. And you notice how, like, the speed of light, for some reason, it's always constant no matter what reference frame you're in. It doesn't change at all. So he figured, well, speed is just a measure of distance over time. So if the speed of light is constant, in order for it to stay constant, that must mean that the distance or space, as well as the time, must be changing accordingly in order to keep the the speed of light constant. So then he ended up coming up with the concept of space-time. You know how, like, space and time are like just one thing, this one, like, four-dimensional fabric of the universe. And after that, he also sought to explain where gravity came from. Like, if space was a thing, then what was generating gravity? And then he figured that gravity comes from masses, like mass, presence of masses creates an indentation in the fabric of space-time. And then when an object is affected by gravity, it's because it's traveling around the curves or the indentations generated by an object. So if you have, like, the sun, massive objects such as the sun, and the Earth goes around it, Earth goes around it because the Earth is traveling around the curves the sun generates in space-time. So that's what Einstein came up with his idea of what the fabric of the universe is, what space is. But at the same time, there was another theory developing that was very different, which was quantum mechanics, and it said that in space isn't, even if there's absolutely nothing in space, it isn't that orderly. It's very, very chaotic. There's, like, particles popping in and out of existence, and it's just crazy. And they tested this by, like, getting, like, two sheets of metal, and then if there really were, like, particles popping in out of existence, they would, like, push these sheets together. Of course, that came, like, to be true. And later on, some guy named Higgs, he wanted to figure out why. I guess it was like he wanted to figure out, like, where mass comes from, what mass is, and why some particles have different masses. And Winston documentary said that, like, it's because it's like, imagine if, like, space had this, like, something called, like, Higgs field, and as some particles push through it, there's more resistance for some particles, and since it's more resistant, they're building up, like, more mass on them. And so that's kind of an explanation, like, why particles, like, different where mass comes from. And then finally, the documentary concluded with looking at the expansion of the universe, and it realized that, okay, for some reason, the expansion of the universe isn't slowing down as we thought it would. It's actually speeding up enormously. And their explanation for it is, okay, there must be something in between the stars, in between everything, that's causing this the expansion of the universe to accelerate, to speed up. And they figured, well, there's like dark energy in between everything that's fueling the expansion of the universe and causing it to go very, very quickly, speed up very quickly. And then the problem with that is this leads to, like, a problem, because if that's true, and this energy given by dark energy, the acceleration given by dark energy, isn't constant, then that can mean, well, what if the universe just keeps expanding so much that eventually the forces that keep all of us held together are weaker than the expansion due to dark energy, and eventually everything gets torn apart? And that's one of the theories of how the universe will end, or the end of the universe, where the big tear or what was I can't exactly remember. It was just everything gets torn apart, and then finally the documentary like ended with talking about the hologram theory, where universe is a hologram, and basically how if theory like if an object falls into a black hole, its information isn't lost, its information is stored on the surface of the black hole, and then on the inside of the black hole there could be like a 3D version of that object, like a hologram is data that's stored in a two-dimensional surface which are projected to be three-dimensional. And it's basically saying like, well, what if we're all inside like a black hole and everything we see around it is just a hologram projecting from a two-dimensional surface in the edge of the universe? And that would basically just like question everything we know about like what space is. So yeah, that's like what the document talked about, like trying to figure out what exactly space is, what's there if there's like nothing there.